Hi, I'm Rick Springfield. You're tuned into Rock Cellar TV.
Rock Cellar TV. Rock Cellar TV. Rock Cellar TV. Rock Cellar TV. Rock Cellar TV. Rock Cellar TV.
So when you're writing a new record, how much are you thinking about the audience, and how much is it just I'm following my muse, and if I like it, hopefully people will like it?
Yeah, it's that. It's really don't. I don't write with an audience in mind. I never have really. I mean, I did in the mid '70s. I tried to write a disco song, and it was so horrible. I said I'll never do that again. So yeah, I would write, you know, as just as the ideas come. I just write, and if I like it, I finish the song. If I don't, I move on. You know.
Does it surprise you what sticks with an audience? You know, what someone embraces, where obviously you dig what you're doing to put it on a record, but have there been surprises with songs where, wow, I thought this was something that would really connect and it didn't, and then other songs that connected that you were surprised about?
Yeah, I mean, that happens all the time. I was actually surprised Jesse's Girl was kind of the one that radio picked, really. And I had a song off the last album that was I thought a throwaway track that we used just as like a bonus track on certain things. And it was called Walking In. And like a lot of fans think that's one of the best songs I've ever done. But I thought it was just, you know, throwaway kind of country sounding track. So I don't really know myself what's going to be picked up. I know this will piss off a lot of people, this album, but I'm okay with that. You know, I mean, you know, you gotta write what you gotta write, and we'll see what happens with it.
Well, why will it piss off some people in your audience?
Oh, well, it's already been. I mean, there's one Santa's an anagram I kind of wrote as a joke, and people are going, "Oh, I'm done with Rick Springfield and this guy with this song." So I figured Jesus with an atheist will really get him going.
What was your mindset working on this record? Were you thinking for a while to do something where you delved, you know, a bit deeper into your roots with blues?
Yeah, I thought I have a friend in Australia that kind of a contemporary. I was in a band called Zoot in Australia that was kind of big. It was big in the late '60s, early '70s, for about 3 years there, and he was a big pop singer. You know, it was all the teen thing and everything, and he recently put out a blues album of stuff he wrote, blues songs that he wrote, not doing old blues songs that most people do. What they do blues albums, they pick old blues songs that they love. Well, he wrote his own about Australian gangsters, and it was a huge hit. A lot of people loved it, and it kind of restarted his career. And I was inspired by that because I've always played blues, you know, my early bands are all blues bands. And I'd always thought about, and I do a blues song in my Strip Down show, and a lot of people said, "Oh, you should do a blues album." So I did. And I wrote, just wrote what I was thinking about, basically. That, you know, it's about God, the devil, and sex. And it's my three favorite things to write about.
It's funny. You know, your slide guitar and dobro guitar work is all over the record, and it's been a part of, I think, starting with Karma.
Yeah, I actually heard I did a show where they played like some old tracks of recent albums. I didn't realize I played so much slide on all the tracks, but I did. And Karma, certainly, I was pushing the slide, but it was more like melodic slide, like George Harrison kind of slide, whereas this stuff now is more traditional blues, dobro work, and resonator guitar work.
When did you start playing slide, though? Was it around the time of Karma where you really started getting into it?
Yeah, it was. I was doing a TV show called High Tide. It ran for 3 seasons. I mean, you have a lot of downtime, so I bought a dobro and just started teaching myself how to play slide. And I've always loved it, loved the sound of it, and so it was not long after that I did record Karma.
Did it take a while to find your voice on slide? And who were some of the slide players you were trying to emulate, at least at the beginning?
Well, it's more like blues notes rather than a styling, you know. I was playing traditional kind of blues licks off it and just kind of making them up based on blues notes. I wasn't really kind of following any particular slide player. Certainly, I'm sure all the ones I've heard were in my head, all the great players that Elmore James and that, who did the initial kind of vibe of slide playing. But I think Karma was like me just copying George Harrison thing, with the double tracking, real melodic stuff. There's no real blues playing on Karma. So, there's some solos on this that I play on slide that are melodic solos, and some are kind of more traditional blues. So it's.
It really feels like such a natural extension of you. It's something that you seem to have come into fairly quickly to be able to capture your own voice with slide.
Yeah, it felt very natural, and I just like you said, just follow the muse.
Yeah. Well, going back to "Speak to the Sky," your first single, which was a hit in America, your songs have always had, checking out the songs on the records throughout, there's always been songs that have dealt with spirituality and religion. And that's a huge thread on this record, with songs like "Jesus is an Atheist," "God Don't Care," "Judas Tree," all that type of stuff. Can we talk a bit about that type of delving into that realm, perhaps much more deeper than you normally do?
It really, I've always had spiritual links somewhere on my album, but this this album, I kind of look around and I see evil everywhere, and I don't really see where God is anymore. And so that's what this album is kind of addressing, that evil seems to have taken over. And people seem pretty comfortable with that,
But God is dog, so...
Yeah, no, I have crosses all over my house. I have cross tattooed on my arm, for crying out loud, so the whole religious, orthodox, Christian thing runs very deeply in me, but I've also looked east, I had a whole album called Tao. This is stuff kind of from my childhood, I guess, that kind of, I was raised a certain way, Christian beliefs, and it was still believing in the white bearded dude somewhere else, that they used to believe was on top of the mountain until they climbed the mountain and realized, then he must be up in the stars till we reach the stars, and it's, wait, where is he?
Given the darkness of the album, do you think darkness is something you gravitate to pretty easily with your writing?
Fairly. It's my go-to, all my early pop songs were all stuff I didn't get, or paranoias, and dark, I think the only party song I've ever written is "Love Is All Right Tonight."
American Girls was one too.
Yeah, but that's like way early, when I wasn't necessarily I wasn't writing necessarily as truthfully as I should. I was very consumed with sex and girls, and so it kind of, all the early '70s stuff is about a lot of that kind of thing.
A lot more imaginary and just...
Yeah, more imaginary, less truthful.
When did you think you hit more of a truthful vein in your writing?
I don't know. There's truth in all the records, certainly. There was in "Speak to the Sky." It was a song about after my dad got sick. I wrote that. That was really the first. When my dad got sick, he actually died, and then they revived him in 1970, and that's when I wrote a song about that, and that's when I realized, I can write about stuff that actually happens to me, and it's very fulfilling. Whereas before I just made shit up about, some girl I was having a fantasy about, or picking off lyrics off other songs, you know, and just using cliches and stuff. And really, my dad's death was his first illness was when I started to write truthfully, and it kind of went in and out through there. But I think I was always kind of after when I started recording by myself, I think I started to get more truthful.
Rock Salad TV. 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 Rock Salad TV.